Welcome back to another Thursday on the Pagan Perspective. I'm your Thursday host, Yeka, and it is beautiful, wonderful fall here, and we are talking about death. So we've talked about death on the channel before, but it's been a while, so we're just doing a little recap and talking about just the topic in general. The viewer gave us a few kind of ideas, some prompts to talk about, but just wanted to know our general take. So, for me, I was really excited about this topic because I think that death is so. I think it's a really beautiful and important part of the great cycle that we often forget, and that sometimes can be a little bit scary in our culture. But I think that it really is, it's the same. Death and life are two sides of the same thing. And without death, there couldn't be the world that we are part of. There couldn't be the life that we have. From the death of things, of life, has created the ecosystem that we are part of and has created us. So, what I mean by that, I'm being quite literal. When our planet formed, when we created, we were just a ball of rock, a molten, bubbling, churning, hot ball of rock. And when we slowed coolly, and life, however it began, whether it arrived from somewhere else or evolved here on its own, probably began in the water. But the surface where we live now was still inhospitable. It was just solid rock and gas. And life began, but life took pieces of the inorganic. It took CO2 from the air, took water, and turned it into organic compounds. But in order for those to be used by other life, they had to die to pass that on. So the death flowed into new life. And eventually we got the soil. Soil is made of lots of life that was, that died, so that life could use the new material, the new patterns, to make itself. And we've been building and building for billions of years like that. So for everything, not everything, but the vast majority of what is our body first came from something else that lived, that died so that we could be. And we continue, we're part of that. It's not like we could ever not be a part of that. And we think about ourselves as individuals, as this one being, but that's not, on some levels, on some scales, yes, but on another scale, that's not true at all. We're made of billions or trillions of cells, and they are going through, we're a community of them, and each one dies, and the material that it formed is reused by our body or passed out of our body and used by other life. So being part of recognizing that sacredness of death, I think is so essential, because I don't think you can really honor life without honoring death, because those go hand in hand. They require each other for being. This is such a beautiful time of year to be reminded of that, for those of us who are experiencing autumn in our parts of the world, because we see that death, that slowing down around us, the leaves falling, and the composting that begins from that. And we talk about, I want to say also the compost, we talk about rot, right? Things rotting, and we think about that as something that is the end or death. But when you really look at what's happening with rotting, is the death of one thing is allowing for the explosion of life, of millions and billions of other life that feed on that is part of the decomposition. So it's just this continual cycle, the flowing from one to the other to the point that it's difficult to tell the difference. Now, the perspective that I'm talking about isn't seeing individuals on the scale that we usually think about on our human scale. And for me, I don't really think about souls. I don't really believe in a soul of an individual, that I have a soul that is separate from your soul or separate from the soul of this beautiful tree behind me. I think that we are part of this planet, and extending beyond the planet, part of this solar system and this universe, and that we are patterns made up of the material of nature, and that we get the opportunity to be this pattern, and to experience ourselves, the universe. And when we die, we become part of other patterns. But there isn't a soul or something like that that continues on to an afterlife or something like that. It's just the next life in a different form, in a different pattern. So I really enjoy meditating on that, reflecting on that on this time of year, and just seeing the season sort of show that to us. So, anyways, I hope you are having a wonderful autumn or fall, if that's what's going on in your part of the world, or spring if you're in the southern hemisphere, or perhaps you're in an area that doesn't have the seasons in the same way. It might be your rainy season or something like that. So until next time, take care.